Welcome to Clarity Digital Pod. I'm Sefati, and today I'm joined by SEO veteran Gene Skazovsky to talk about the state of SEO in 2025. We're cutting through the AI hype, breaking down why fundamentals still matter, and discussing how search is evolving beyond Google. Let's get into it.
Hey Gene, how you doing today?
Doing great, Al. How are you?
Pretty good. Thank you for joining me on this podcast. If
Yeah,
you don't mind introducing yourself for our
certainly.
audience and your background, that would be great.
Certainly, yes. My name is Yevgeny Skazovsky. I go by Gene. It's a lot easier for people to remember and pronounce. You can find me on Twitter, Gene SEO Machine. Yeah, I'm a chief marketing strategist at Online Marketing Boutique, which is a private boutique agency working with various different select clients in different verticals. And I've been in the space for quite some time, approaching about 25 years, close to that. That's what I do. I worked in-house. I worked in an agency with you. I worked at other agencies as well, like many of us in SEOs. And I've been around the block and really glad to be a part of this podcast. I'm really happy for how you evolved as a professional in this sphere. And it's just awesome. Kudos to you. Good luck on everything and happy to be here. Thanks for having me on and looking forward to chatting about the good old SEO.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I remember 10, 11 years ago, whenever it was that we met, I used to hide away from conference calls. But thanks to COVID, now I'm like, oh, let's have a Zoom call. Let's get on the call. Let's get on the call.
Right, right. Yeah, this is where it's really convenient. It's very cool. It connects people quickly and easily. Technology evolved quite a bit.
hmm
So no,
For
definitely.
sure.
Yeah.
Very cool. That was a good introduction. Thank you. Let's get right into it. I think I remember you speaking at events, and I think you're the right person to ask this question. What is the state of SEO in 2025 as of everything is going on with AI and everything that's going on?
Certainly, yes. As everybody's saying, SEO has evolved, and as you just mentioned, almost everyone is talking about AI. You cannot really hear a single talk at a conference without AI being mentioned in some form. This is where, based on my experience, and I'll be speaking purely from my point of view and my experience and how I assess the industry and what's going on. There is a lot of talk and use of AI, and it is changing the industry quite a bit. But to my disappointment, I see that there's not a lot of talk or focus on the fundamentals of what the SEO is. I think this is where many companies, many people in the industry are really just chasing the shiny new thing that everyone is talking about in the fear of being left out from the conversation. And they are basically become followers and not the leaders of SEO. They're not innovating, they're not challenging, they're not really even focusing on some of the fundamentals of what built the industry. What I think is changing in SEO is people that really want to be great at the craft, they immerse themselves in everything that SEO was and everything that SEO is. Understand the history, the evolution, various different changes in the algorithm, how SEO is adjusted to that. So understanding of SEO from the fundamentals from the old days with the application of the AI and other things. So the state of SEO right now in 25 is those that have been around, know the game, are successful. A lot of people who come in focus on the shiny new things, usually do a lot of talking and really cannot walk the walk. That's the state of my perception of state of SEO in 2025 as I talk to the dinosaurs. I really like talking to people who have been in an industry for a while because in their conversations, in their talking points, you understand how they take things from the past, apply it to the current state of things and affairs, versus to people who have come into the industry relatively recently. And their perception of SEO is one or two handful of tactics with let's make sure we just say and use the AI because if you don't use AI, you're not an SEO. Not necessarily so. There's many brands who can completely bypass artificial intelligence, focus on the fundamentals of SEO, get themselves to a certain stage, to the visibility, etc., and really not worry about this shiny new thing. So that's the state of SEO at 2025, I think, is right now. Whether or not that is an answer, you tell me, but that is my perception of the state of search and just an SEO of things.
No, that's actually, I think it's a great answer. And I could only put myself in a position of newcomers when I got into SEO, however years ago, like many years ago, over 2 decades ago, something like that. There was only a few people who followed. There was the Moz blog, and then there was a few other like influencers.
That's what's still then.
Yes. And now I say people coming in right now, there's so much noise, there's so much going on. You don't even know what SEO is, what you're supposed to be doing. It just, there's so much going on, right? So I can only imagine how hard it would be for the newcomers. It's very easy to get attracted to a new latest AI tool that's supposed to fire your agency and do all the SEO for you. I actually test drove one of those. I'm like, this tool doesn't do anything. And what really surprises me the most is some of the more seasoned SEO experts are like, because of fear of losing clients or their jobs, are embracing some of those tools and tactics, and that is really troubling. And I think you can only. That's one of the reasons we're having this conversation, because we want to educate our audience. It's like, hey, SEO is still important. Still, yeah, you can use some of these tools to help you to make things more efficient, but you still have to have a strategy, experience, all that good stuff, right?
It's something that you just mentioned, which is very current and topical in one of my situations with a client. Using of tools for the SEO. I think it is very important, if you're using a tool, to understand how is it using the signals of SEO to give you a direction, right? So if you're using a tool, for example, to assess your broken links, how does it do that? Do you even understand the process of how to evaluate a broken link if you don't have a tool, right? So that you understand how valuable is that tool. A tool that will evaluate your images. Any other tool that you're using, I think a lot of times is people, oh, here's a tool, and I'm going to be lazy, not educate myself of how this tool is actually making this analysis and assessment, but I'll just go ahead and use it. So I think it's really important also to understand how these tools are actually using the signals. If you're using Ahrefs, if you're using SEMrush, how do they evaluate, like what are they looking at when they're giving you a broken link report or a backlink report or your signals and other things, or evaluate your H1s? This is where I've seen people, I use SEO tools and they don't know what an H1 is. So it's very unfortunate, but that's what it is. That's the state of some of the searches. So I think this is where, maybe for those people who will be new to the podcast, I think it'll be very helpful to get to look at people like you mentioned, Rand Fishkin, and definitely follow John Mueller. Many people do not know who he is. Unfortunately. Understand where information is coming from, how it got and evolved there. Look up who Matt Cutts is and what his post used to be like. There's so many other people who have been around and just can provide a lot of information on SEO. So I think that's what it is right now. You're hitting on a lot of good points. So
yeah, the over reliance of tools is actually really troubling. I was working, like we were at a working session with a client, and I logged in to their HubSpot, and I'm like, we couldn't get the landing page. They created a landing page themselves, but couldn't get it right. So I literally clicked, instead of the UI user-friendly version, I clicked on the code, I went to the HTML and started like making some tweaks. And then the VP of marketing, she said, "Oh, Al is programming." I'm like, Christina, this is not programming. I'm just putting
magic.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because this time when I got into marketing, almost everyone had to know HTML.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. This is where you're hitting on one of the sensitive points I have, actually.
Yeah, I had to know a basic JavaScript. I had to know HTML. I had to know what's a good JavaScript versus what's not a good JavaScript for SEO. And now you're dealing with the CMO and marketers that don't know this stuff. And the evolution of us going through Notepad, coding stuff in Notepad, then the front page and Dreamweaver and all this stuff. And now we have marketers coming, they just want to delegate everything to tools.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, Al. I could not agree more. This is where people that sometimes make decisions that affect marketing, why do I need to know that if I'm just going to hire an expert? Well, you need to hire an expert supposed to be doing. This is where let's just focus on like the Jeff Bezos did it all himself by himself, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Elon Musk is a developer, right?
Yeah.
Writes codes. So this is where, you're absolutely right. A lot of times executives that are responsible for certain decisions do not understand very important parts of it. And those that do are really successful, because unless you have complete trust to delegate something to someone who's an expert and you say, listen, I don't have time to understand or learn this. You clearly know your skill and you're an expert in this field. Al, please, like that.
Yeah.
This is where you just built the confidence, showing them that you can walk the walk and you can, it's not just talk the talk. You have the skills, what's needed. Because you have those fundamentals, at least. I think this is such a favorite topic of mine for what can make a successful SEO in the business. I think understanding the web development process, you gotta know HTML basics at least. You need to know JavaScript, CSS, or at least understand how it works and what and how it affects everything. Because if you want to be successful in SEO, this is something I've always advocated for many years. If we take a 30,000-foot view on SEO, what is the one variable that you have full control over that is one of the most variables in the SEO? And that is your website. You can control the backlinks. You can work on them, right? You can't control social media sometimes, reputation management, but you have one single variable that is under your complete control, and that is your website. And you want to make the best website SEO compliant as possible, knowing what the variables are on the site to look at, right? And then if you're a good SEO and you understand HTML, CSS, JavaScript, you will be so far ahead of the game from those that just, I use the tool.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough to be able to learn SEO from people that were really good SEO experts. And I remember my first exposure to SEO was when I was working at Experian, a consumer report agency. I used to be a web developer there, so I was just straight out classic ASP HTML code. And then because of my ability to wanting to learn more, I worked really closely with the marketing team, and the marketing team would assign me a lot of SEO tickets, and I would question why am I, like, one of the tickets that they give me is externalize and minify all CSS, because back in the days we used to a lot of like inline CSS.
Right.
And as a programmer, I hated it because I didn't. This is unnecessary efforts, right? But then when I started understanding the reason for it, then I started appreciating it. And I had to go through that before I called myself anything, even like an SEO expert. I had to go through that for a decade before.
You got to spend that 10,000 hours.
And now you have people popping out using some of these tools, and at least SEMrush is more of a legacy tool. Some of these newer AI-based tools that, and people are like, I'm an SEO expert. How much SEO do you know? Oh, I use this tool and that tool. No, if anything, if
I take away all your tools, what worth do you have to me as an SEO? If I take all your tools away.
Yeah, I coded, and not to show off, it's just because it only dates me.
It's fine.
My first job was a junior analyst. I coded in VIM, which is like a modern version of VI editor in Unix. It was a nightmare. And now, fast forward to the experts, so-called experts today, I'm like, oh my God. The state of SEO is questionable right now.
Yeah, I think it's really just, I also think it's the matter of perception, right? So some people will say it's one thing, it's a different. Perception is reality. And so this is, I think, the matter of perception. And I try to be as objective as I can in my view, not just what am I dealing with or who am I working with, but on the grand scale, what are the things that are just happening in general? What do I hear? I go on different sites and forums and I read a lot of different stuff and I talk to many different people. So I'm taking that into consideration. It's like, what are they talking about? What are their pain points or topics of conversations they're discussing and talking about and current? So yeah, it's really wishy-washy. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember you started talking about the externalization of CSS JavaScript.
Mhm.
I remember that was one of the standard recommendations for a site optimization. And
Mhm.
this is where a lot of times, and I deal with this often, I talk to developers and I explain to them you need to externalize CSS JavaScript. Oh, why? Why
Yeah.
would I do that? And this is where, okay, this is going to be fun. We're in
Yeah.
2025.
Mhm.
Okay. So it's an interesting situation. So that's why I think going back to just a very quick comment I mentioned at the beginning, fundamentals, right? There's certain things of fundamentals, people just not focusing on them, unfortunately. They're just
Yeah.
going after AI. Did we do AI? Check.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with the C-suite. They want to come in and they want to cater certain numbers and KPIs to the board, or they want to tell a certain story to the board, and it's about the organization itself. I've worked with a lot of CMOs, and I don't even think SEOs should report to CMOs because SEO is bigger than marketing, but that's another conversation.
Yeah.
And the CMOs really push the SEO team to have a very limited view on SEO. And I think that has a lot to do with it, as opposed to, hey, let's do SEO right. Let's do SEO. Another conversation, actually, I was about to tweet this because one really disturbing trend I see right now is a lot of companies and agencies are letting go of their really good market content strategists because they think now they can create content in AI, ChatGPT.
This is where I hear what you're saying. This is a lot of times this is where it's narrow-minded. How can I reduce my overhead, reduce the lines of that I have on my P&L statement, reduce the head count and drop
Yes.
my P&L rather than understand the impact, right? How do you adjust this? Let me hire a more junior person who's going to use Chat GPT versus the
Mhm.
content strategist who can still use Chat GPT, but in a
Sure.
whole different approach.
Hmm.
This is where I hear what you're saying. I've seen this quite a bit. It's very disappointing, but
Yeah.
sometimes
And
people need to make their mistakes to understand
yes, they
wrong.
need to make mistakes and get in trouble and get fired before this. Between the two blog posts, let's say we did a testing, we wrote the entire blog post about a certain topic, entirely ChatGPT. We told it, hey, write us about this. And the other one, we wrote it and we had ChatGPT optimize it for us a little bit. And the one that we wrote is doing way better in terms of traffic and any other metrics that we expect. And it just makes sense. Humans like to talk to humans, and humans like to learn from humans. And we know if you are adding in a value, uh, why get rid of your, maybe you can, like you said, maybe you can slightly change the duties for your senior content strategist. Maybe you can have him or her focus more on research and coming up with more authentic stuff rather than letting him or her go and hire someone more junior.
Yeah. If a content strategist understands the SEO game and how
Mhm.
important to create that content and understand how to create the web of content for a subject matter, that person empowered with AI tool is a very dangerous resource,
Yeah,
extremely
yeah.
dangerous resource in a very good
Mhm.
way.
In a very good way. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
And if you think, and if an executive in the C-suite is focused extremely on the immediate P&L,
yeah,
and this is usually those people don't really have a far-sightedness into the growth of the business. I'm thinking of right now, immediate need. And usually those organizations have a lot of fires throughout their history.
yeah,
It's if you think, what do I do now for how it will affect me in the future, and have that a little bit of a more foresight. Of course, letting go of a resource that's been around and has a lot of different information that is very hard to accumulate over years. bring in someone new just because you want to cut down on the overhead, not
Mhm.
always the best business decision. That's in my view, but
That's
I
just,
know what you're talking about, and I do see
yeah.
it often.
I know we can talk about this forever, but one thing I've
Sure, yeah.
noticed, yeah, one thing I noticed that is happening a lot is that the emergence of other platforms as a default search engines. People are not just going to Google anymore, right? Bing is making a comeback because of Copilot. Gen Z is
Oh,
searching
I
TikTok a
love
lot.
Bing. I love
Yeah,
Bing all the time. I've used so this is where not necessarily Bing, but so because everything you do on Bing shows up on Yahoo, right?
yeah. Mhm.
So I launched my first e-com site was in around 2002. Sorry to date myself. And my advertising was predominantly done through Overture, which is
I remember
yahoo.com.
that. Yes,
So to discount 30% of traffic at a much lower cost of acquisition,
yes.
not a very smart business decision.
Mhm. And not forget that that's automatically shipped with every Microsoft Windows
Exactly.
platform.
So if step back for the industry, what is the demographic target of your customers, right? If you
Mhm.
have a product that is skewed a little bit on a more mature side of the demographic,
Yes.
you have to be on Bing. And
Mhm.
if you do not do that, you're losing money now.
Yeah.
So for sure, yes.
Yeah, I use Mac here at work, but my wife, she's a nurse and she brings her laptop home sometimes. One time I was on her Dell, I was just looking up something, and I used Bing so many times accidentally because it's so embedded into Windows operating system.
Don't tell anybody you're using Bing.
No, no, it's a great experience. Why do I
Sure.
go to Google where I can just because it's Microsoft has done such a great job embedding, and it's very powerful now with Copilot, right? So it's not just it's a very powerful engine, and we're
This is
going
true.
back to that,
Yeah.
yeah. And then there's Amazon, where, for example, I because I already have the Prime and I have my credit card there, and I get everything within a couple of days at most. If there's a product, I usually go to Amazon first. Look, if it's not there, then I go to Google.
This is you're pretty much sound like that as well, right? So there's 50% of e-com, if not more right now, happens on Amazon.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
the largest e-com platform probably in the world, but in the
Sure.
United States for sure.
Hmm.
So this is where, of course, I think this is also for the e-com products. So I'm not going to give away a lot of stuff on my end, but so I work with a company and they have a line of products and they have a line of very committed customers who are not going to be shopping on Amazon.
Yeah.
They just don't.
Hmm.
Not because they don't like Amazon. They buy certain things on Amazon. They don't buy certain items on Amazon, right? So, but for general market, 50% of e-com happens on Amazon. But I
Yeah.
think it's very important to be everywhere.
Yeah. And how do SEO as a career today? Where would one start? Because I knew who I had to follow when I was getting to SEO. SEO Moz at the time was the name, and then Rand Fishkin and Matt Cutts, who I met a couple times. Where do people learn? There's so much information. I feel like all over the place. And some of these sites, Moz or whatever, they're not cutting it anymore. I don't know if there are still authorities.
It's a very good question. And so where to start learning SEO and how to start in the career of SEO. To become an expert in any field, the rule is 10,000 hours, right?
Hmm.
So there is not going to be a quick road to become a very successful SEO, but I think starting with, once again, fundamentals. If somebody is absolutely brand new, I would try to start looking for workshops around them where they can pick up some SEO. There are conferences that happen throughout the United States by some of these are brand names that have been around for decades. One of my favorites is PopCon, and there's at PopCon, Bruce Clay, one of the first people
Yes.
in the SEO industry, still teaches an SEO class that you can go to and start learning basics and fundamentals of SEO. There are many other resources, and I think if you want to start with SEO now, you can become very successful because you can assimilate a lot of information from collecting this data through help of AI. YouTube is a phenomenal tool that people use and should continue to use. Start looking at the fundamentals of SEO, understanding the ranking signals that Google publishes every year. Go through that big book, understand what these signals are, what do they mean. And so learning is really, it's like going to school. You're gonna spend a few years learning. Follow people who have done really phenomenal job in this. This is where one of my favorites to listen to technical SEOs. So whenever I have a chance to listen to Bill Hunt, I can listen to him. Or back in the day, Miley O'Hay from Google used to
Yes,
do a lot of
remember.
different courses. All of this material is still available.
Mhm.
So I think if you want to start at SEO, start at the beginning. Sign up for all the podcasts that John Mueller does. Listen to all of his stuff. Read materials, understand the evolution of SEO. And this is where, and follow people that are active in the industry, that talk about stuff, that test a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up testing. I think there's something to be said about the people that actually learn things theoretically and people that actually do it. Because you can read this stuff. You write blogs, I write blogs. A lot of times we write blogs, obviously, to share insights, but we also want our pages to rank so we can get traffic and to meet our goals. So a lot of times there's a lot of fluff in the blog. So you really have to like do some of this stuff for yourself to see if it works or not.
Absolutely. This is where, and you alike, but having worked at an agency gives an advantage because you see a lot of different verticals and you can do a lot of different things and tests and whatnot, depending on the client too. But I've been fortunate where clients have been open to me experimenting because I was explaining to them why am I doing this? What are the benefits? What are the risks? And luckily, this is where, have you been affected by an algorithmic update by Google? I have to say confidently that in my years, advices that I've provided to my customers have never negatively affected them by a Google algorithm because I don't do nothing black hat and I don't advise them on practices that are not going to help their users or their websites. And so testing with in an agency gives a big advantage, but this is where really marketers like yourself, as I hear, I do this as well. We have our own projects and our own stuff that we run where we do our own testing. I have my own projects that I'm running in different verticals where I do my own testing.
Yeah.
And I look at, okay, option A, option B. I'm not trying to see bad or good. It's good or better.
Yeah.
And which one it makes an effect. And then you can provide these tangible results and recommendations to customers and clients who will then undoubtedly be thankful for this.
Yeah, bulk of my learnings was from my side projects and all this work in various projects, learning, like you said, from agencies. I worked for a payday lender back in, I don't know, 2009. Oh my God, like the things we did there. I'm not proud of it, but I learned what not to do.
So this, yeah, here's something. So going back to this first website that I launched, how I learned a part of SEO. Once again, 2002, my developer was charging me $200 for every SEO field that he would add to the website. So there's an SEO, there's a field, it's called SEO keyword field. And for $200, I'll build that for you. You put in your keywords and you will rank. And sure enough, 2002, right? You put in keywords in the keyword meta and you rank. Now it doesn't matter, right? So for $200, I'll build you a field called title. And for $200, I'll build you a field called description.
Wow.
So testing those things, yeah, it works if you do these things, modifying those fields. So having these types of projects to experiment with. But this is a long time ago. This is fun times.
Yeah, I think with the going back to AI very quickly, I don't think SEO, although it will change because of AI and because of generational changes, I think it will always be around because we humans we seek for information, right? So no matter how, it's just the device may change. You and I don't search on our desktops anymore. That changed a long time ago. We might use more people use their phones right now to search, maybe very soon on their watches. The devices would change.
Various devices, right? Throughout
Yeah.
the house, you have Echo, you have Alexa, a bunch of different stuff.
The fundamentals are still the
all day
same.
long.
You need quality content. You need crawlable websites. Like Google is more sophisticated, can actually index incorrect JavaScript, or like ChatGPT has a hard time with certain JavaScript. So a lot of sites don't even get crawled with ChatGPT. So the basics are still very relevant. You got to have a crawlable website. You need to have authentic quality content. You need to have authority.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I remember this is where not that it's changed much, but I remember John Mueller many years ago was saying you don't really even need to focus on the backlinks if you understand how important your website is.
Yeah.
And this goes back to the comment I've made, not to say that I don't want to put myself on the same pedestal as John Mueller by any means, but I'm just saying it's the only variable you have full control over. Why would you be focusing on things that are outside of your control and chasing things? If here's something right in front of you, 9 out of 10 times I work with companies where if you put their URL into the page speed test, do not pass core web vitals.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to talk to you about your social media content strategy until we figure out what are you going to do about this problem.
Sure.
Don't
Yeah.
talk to me about how many blog per month are we going to do. Have we talked about how are we going to address this problem? Are we not going to address this problem? And we're going to put sugar coated with backlinks? Are we going to put it, are we using Chat GPT? Are we doing YouTube videos?
We talked about many good things, but since we are running out of time, what does Gene do when he's not doing SEO or doing marketing?
What does Gene do? So one of the things, and this might be very unfortunate or however it sounds, I always say my work is my hobby. I
Yeah.
really love what I do. And so if I'm not working, I'm actually working. I have my own projects. I have my own things that I do. And so I do a lot of work in the marketing. I don't really even want to call that work. It's just I live and breathe digital marketing, online marketing, even traditional marketing. I do things outside of digital as well. But when I do need to recharge or unplug, I usually try to go somewhere and expose myself to arts of various different kinds and foods of various different kinds. So I'm a big foodie and I'm a big art lover. And so anything that involves food and art, I'm there. That's what I do on my pastime. But yeah, I spend a lot of time like actually digging through different stuff and projects, even on off hours, like seeing what else can I do and how else can I expand my horizons.
Yeah, you still in LA area?
Still in LA area right now.
Yeah. Cool.
Or in the hottest part of Los Angeles, so like the Hills area.
In the valley, yeah.
Yeah,
But not that far from like West Hollywood where all the good food is at, right?
We have West Hollywood has great food places. There's plenty on the north side. Listen, I'll go different places for good food. One day I even drove to Las Vegas for lunch. So
wow.
For good food, I'll go far if it is good. And so
no more underground Russian parties, no?
Can't talk about it.
I can't talk about it.
Fight Club.
Cool. Any movies, books, anything that you've been watching recently or read? Do you even have time for any of those?
Yeah, actually, there is a book I just got somebody recommended to me. It's very similar to other material, but just a different perspective. Actually, the name of the book is Make Your Brand, I think. But there's where, as far as movies, I like to watch a lot of movies. I don't have any preference in genre. I think if there was a book that I would say outside of marketing or what I'm reading, a very important book that influenced me early on in my life. I read it probably when I was 12 or 13, was Dale Carnegie's book, How to Make Friends and Influence People. And I think if every one of your listeners just opens up their horizons, listen and reads that book, would be something that just could benefit them and understanding how to communicate and how to collaborate. And I think this was a very interesting book for myself. But yeah, I read different, yeah, this making a brand, it's really, I think, the short story of it all is the book is about how a brand can establish their own voice and how can they, identify and find their own why. Simon Sinek is another people I really like and follow. So, knowing your why. So this is for the brand on how to find their own why. Interesting material, different way of talking about a very common topic.
Very cool. I guess my last question is, since you're a foodie, you wouldn't have a favorite food, but if you had to have one, what would it be?
I do have a favorite dish, but
Yeah,
I
favorite
also
dish
have
stuff.
favorite cuisine.
Sure,
And those
tell
are
me.
very different.
Tell me both if you don't mind.
Okay, sure. My favorite cuisine is French. I'm a huge fan of French food, especially the desserts, of course.
Yeah.
But if I had to eat one dish for the rest of my life, most of your audiences will not know it. You probably have heard it. And the dish is called lagman.
Look, man, it's a
Lagman. I was born in Central Asia, in Uzbekistan,
okay.
and it's a very common traditional dish, very filling. So it has the noodles, it has the vegetables, the
I've
meat,
had
and
it.
the
I've had
soup.
it. Yeah, I've had it. Actually, in West Hollywood, there's a new Uzbek place. If you haven't tried it, you should try it.
Yes.
It's
Is that
very
the one on Melrose?
it's the one on Melrose. Yes.
Yes. I've been to their sister place in Beverly Hills.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So they have lagman. It is my favorite dish
Yeah.
of since I was a kid, and to this
Mhm.
day, I love it. So lagman as a food, like one single dish would be lagman. But if I just had to pick the entire cuisine, it would be
It'd be
French.
French, yeah. Yeah, French is the French pastry and is very influential in almost every culture, right? Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, very cool. Well,
But I
Gene,
like that there are a lot of stuff and flavors and just things on your palate. But that's what it is. That's my view.
very cool. Well, Gene, it's been a pleasure. I know we should
Thank you,
have you
Al.
again down talk about SEO marketing, but
It
I know
would
you're
be my
busy.
pleasure, Al.
Appreciate
Thank you
your
very
time.
much for your time. Best of luck to you. All the best of everything now and forever. And thank you again for having me on.
Of course, thanks again. Have a good one. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.